Okay, good morning all. So welcome to GS2 bridge course. How many of you had, mostly assuming most of you would have given prelims, right? Okay, so how many, I think few attended yesterday's session also, or few may not have attended. So how many are scoring like 85 plus? Okay, most others are in what 70s range or 80s range. What is the range? 70s. Okay. So 70, I think by now you will be having a clear idea. I don't have to again and say, repeat that again. So what may be the range of cutoff, all those things. So those who have a high chance of getting into mains this time, means clearing prelims this time, obviously you have very less time. So first I'll tell what should be the strategy kind of event for those people who are going to give mains this time. So what you can do is, on an average, let's assume you have around 90 days. So within 90 days, let's say for example 30 days, for 30 days you have to keep it for more or less whatever notes kind of a thing is pending. It can be our PVQ, at least notes especially. Fine, absolutely everything you need to finish off at least let's say 30, 40 days maximum, let's say July end. If you do that by July end, that means entire August and September, let's say around 50 days, you can keep it for 100 writing, revision, write, revise. So that should be the only thing. So because assuming obviously if you come here, the point is what? You still have clear cut, you still do not have clear cut consolidated notes. Let's say for example, you're planning for 2025 in mind. So then you have relatively, let's say for example, how many? 3-4 months more, because till December, you keep it 100% for means preparation. You still a little more time because you have to plan for 2025. Understood? So within that again 4-5 points, as I normally keep telling always, because don't skip any step. Any step if you skip, obviously it is going to affect it. The core foundation is what? Subtopic notes. Second is revision. Third is PYQ answer rating, at least 5 years, if possible 10 years also. Then what you have to do is test series. Regularly you have to write lot of 3 hours tests. And then obviously the short note preparation. All the 5 steps are equally important. Any step if you skip, let's say if you skip the first step, it's like, okay, I'll not have consolidated notes, but I'll study from some reference books, some magazines, all those things. It is not so easy, because practically revising those notes, okay, I'll study some points from there, some points from here, before the day of exam, all those things, practically it will not work because syllabus is very, very huge. Let's say you have detailed subtopic notes, everything is ready, but you have not revised, you have not written PYQs, you have not written test series. Then obviously what is the use then? So everything matters, right from notes to revision to PYQs to test series to short notes. Each and everything matters. Short notes obviously has to come at the end, because without doing at least 5 to 10 revisions, you cannot directly make a short notes. It's not so easy, because or else you will copy paste each and everything whichever is there in your notes. Okay, that is other aspect. So for you guys, whoever are planning for 2025, you have relatively little more time, so you can plan for that better. For others, as I told, maximum July end. That too what? Not only for GS, even for optional, whatever is left out also you have to plan, because optional is also equally important. And those who are giving this mains, or at least have a strong instinct that I have a very high chance, so optional, whatever, even if you're doing this course also, at least make sure that 2 to 3 hours minimum you should dedicate for optional. Because optional is not something which you can, let's say GS4 you study now, or GS2 you study now, maybe next you will shift to GS2, GS3, maybe GS4, maybe GS1. You can come back maybe after a month, but optional is not like that. Optional 2 to 3 hours minimum, if possible, because you're attending courses, I am telling 2 to 3 hours. Or else, if in case whoever is notes everything is ready, 4 hours for GS, any GS for that you're doing, 4 hours for optional, and 1 or 2 hours for either current affairs updating or 1 hour every day writing, all those things, because you have to do that very, very regularly. Optional, you will not get a hold on that so easily. It will take a lot of time. Any optional, even if you have written 2 to 3 mains also already by now. Because for others also, whoever might be watching, that's why I'm just clarifying for all of them. Clear? Okay, so then let's stick to GS2 first. So we'll start from the basics. Obviously here, so assuming most of you might be OGP students, so yeah, obviously even here you have to write a lot, but no dictation, nothing. So dictation in the sense, Typical normal dictation will not be there. You have to keep writing. Continuously you have to write 6 hours, 7 hours per day, depends. So see, at least 6 hours. So you have to write a lot, including the normal conceptual clarity angle, including the PYQs, including the probable question. Because my assumption, based on my experience, I'll tell you, only if you have clear-cut notes, then revision, everything will become easy. Or else, let's say, sir, I have it in magazine, I have it in PDFs, I have it in PPTs. As far as my experience goes, or based on students' feedback also, I can tell you, it's not so easy to revise it. Maybe if you have you have typed and you have put it in your OneNote, whatever that online kind of a one, okay, fine, agreed. But sir, I have a magazine, I have so-and-so value addition material, can I study directly from it? Not so easy. It doesn't work like that. Because time matters the most. Understood? Even for optional, you have 4 days gap between GS4 and optional. In that span of 4 or 5 days, at least twice, if possible 3 times, you should be able to revise both the papers, paper 1 and paper 2 of your optional. Only then you have a high chance of getting 280, 290, that range in optionals. Now you logically think and tell, how can you revise paper 1 and paper 2 both at least twice? If your notes is 500 page, 800 page, how is it possible? You can do it, still you can do it, if it is, even if it is 500, 600 page also, provided that 500, 600 page itself we have already studied 15, 20 times. That if you have done, okay, agreed. You can still revise 500 page note in maybe 1 day, 1.5 day. Let's say, sir, I have revised twice, I have revised thrice. How will you revise 500 page paper 1 or 400 page paper 1, 400 page paper 2 in 4 days? Practically it doesn't work like that. This all means experience. Once you have given, you would have got a broader idea, or else just make sure that every step matters the most. Clear? Yeah, so fine. So now let's start with the GS2. First I'll clarify. Again, please keep noting down a lot of things. Obviously polity part will have a lot of overlap with your Lakshmikant. I mean the typical basics, but mains angle is very, very high here. We are not going to give you too many small basics related to prelims. Remember, we keep telling Lok Sabha strength, Rajya Sabha strength, this, that all will not work here. Directly, whatever is mains related part only we'll discuss. Fundamental rights, I will not discuss fundamental rights. Fundamental rights related major points, what you have to keep it in mind. What are the PYQs? What kind of answers? What are the major cases? Directly that part. Fine. Now let's start with first basics. Okay, what is the composition? How many types of questions is that? Let's discuss about that. I think you will be having a broader idea. First is what? The polity and the constitution part. Remember, each and every syllabus point you should literally by heart 125 marks. Governance part 25 marks. This is, I am telling you, based on the average of 2013 to 2023. 11 years paper, the average I am telling you. Sometimes one question may increase, one question may decrease, that you can't decide. This is overall segregation of the, you can say, marks distribution. Fine. Then now what we'll do is, please note down the syllabus first, because syllabus matters a lot. As I keep telling, especially for mains, syllabus PYQ, literally for every syllabus subtopic, what kind of questions are they asking should be there in your mind. First, let's say the broader syllabus, then we'll go to the each and everything. Let's put the polity syllabus first. I'll paraphrase, means I'll make it simple. Historical underpinnings, evolution, means evolution of constitution, historical underpinnings, evolution of constitution, significant features, historical underpinnings, evolution of constitution, significant features, important amendments, significant features, important amendments, basic structure of constitution. See, the core of basics, you will get it from this. Every year you will have 1 or 2 questions. For the keywords, right? Historical underpinnings, evolution of constitution, significant features, important amendments, and then the last one is what? Basic structure. Fine. OGP 2. Okay, okay, fine. Okay, so that is the first point. Within that, what kind of questions do they ask? All those things we'll discuss. That you'll get an idea. For example, last year, if you have seen 2023 mains, they have asked 2 questions from this topic. One is what, if you can recall, constitutionalization of the gender justice. That is one of the question. And then the second question, I think, is, I'll tell you that. Second question is the expansion of Article 21. Recall, expansion of the scope of right to life and liberty. So both they have asked, that all will come to that later. Second subtopic under this one, comparison of Indian constitution with that of other countries. Comparison of Indian constitution with that of other countries. Comparison of Indian constitution with that of other countries. 2. Second one. 3. Executive. Executive means what all they may ask? President, governor. Last year also, not last year, I think 22 they have asked a question. Legislative powers of governor. So when you say executive, here they will cover which one? President of India, governor of the states. Those questions is your second, third one. Fourth one, legislature, means parliament as well as state legislature. This is fixed. Every year you will have 1 or 2 questions. Legislature. Then elections. Election means Election Commission of India, conducting elections, electoral funding, electoral reforms, everything, elections. Then RP Act 1951. Salient features of Representation of People Act 1951. Then judiciary. Mostly Supreme Court, but it may vary. Judiciary. Fine, then federalism, center-state relations. Federalism. Then local bodies, panchayats, municipalities. Last year they have asked a question on urban local bodies. Generally it was panchayats, local bodies. Then a more abstract topic, separation of power. Normally they don't touch this topic, but you never know. Separation of power. Then bodies. Bodies, which includes what? Constitutional, statutory, regulatory, quasi-judicial, all of them. Bodies means constitutional, statutory, regulatory, quasi-judicial. Constitutional, statutory, regulatory, quasi-judicial. So any bodies, every year one question, I'm 100% fixed on bodies. Fine, that distribution again we'll discuss. Then the last topic under polity is what? Acts or bills. So that they don't ask regularly, but it depends. Like for example, this area of Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, all those things, or last year, which one? Digital personal data protection bill you have. So chances are high. Or information technology, look at this, recall that Telegraph Act, everything they are merging, that act is also there. Whatever, that is broadly polity angle. Then what are the governance related topics? First one, e-governance. Every year from the last 5-6 years, continuously they have asked. E-governance. The next broad topic, make it as transparency and accountability. Transparency and accountability. Within that subdivide, what all you may get? RTI, Citizens Charter, Social Audit, Corruption. 4. RTI, Citizens Charter, Social Audit, Corruption. RTI, Citizens Charter, Social Audit, Corruption. And then actors in development process. In other words, broadly civil society. Actors in the development process, that is civil society. Civil society, again, what all you will get here? NGO, pressure group, SHG. Actors in the development process, that means broadly civil society, NGO, pressure group, SHG. So alternatively, every year they will ask. Then role of civil services in democracy, which they don't touch regularly, but still you have a chance. Role of civil services in democracy. Role of civil services in democracy. Right? So that is your governance aspects. Then social justice, 4 subtopics you have. First, let's finish the syllabus. Social justice. First one, welfare schemes for vulnerable sections. welfare schemes for vulnerable sections. Fine. Again, you have that all we'll discuss topic by topic, but broadly, what all you have to include here: women, children, SC, ST, physically challenged. Normally, the focus here: elders they have still not touched. Women, children, physically challenged, SC, ST. There are still others. We are not saying no, but UPSC largely has focused on them. Fine. Then next one is what? Poverty and hunger. Linkages between poverty and hunger. Poverty and hunger. More or less every year they'll ask questions on this. Poverty and hunger. Next one, social sector policies. Social sector policies. Subdivide 3 topics. Only 3. Every year you have a question. Last year actually they had two questions on this topic. Education, healthcare, skill development. Broadly what you got as HRD. Education, healthcare, skill development. If you want another broader word is what? HRD, human resource development. Education, healthcare, skill development, HRD, human resource development. Then policies for various sectors. Policies for various sectors. This is relatively neglected topic. They don't ask regularly. After a long time, they asked last year one question, if you can recall, they had asked a question on Pradhan Mantri Gati Shakti Yojana. How intersectoral coordination is important for the success of this project. That is under this policies for various sectors. And so that is social justice. Then international relations. That anyhow, I mean topics Shashank sir will handle, but I'll tell you the syllabus. International relations. First one, India and its neighborhood relations. Mostly if you have observed, it will be India-China or India-Pakistan or neighborhood first policy, something like that. India and its neighborhood relations. Fine. 2. Policies and politics of other countries which affects India. Policies and politics of other countries which affects India. Like US, mostly it will be US angle, sometimes they may ask EU, all those things. Policies and politics of other countries which affects India. File 3, Indian diaspora. Recall last year there was a question on this. Indian diaspora. Fine. The next one is which one? Bodies. Bodies, or you can say broader word, international or regional groupings or agreements. Like for example, what we call it as G20, G7, UN, World Banks, sorry, this SCO, those kind of ones, SARC, BIMSTEC. Fine. International and regional groupings or agreements. Then lastly, international organizations. This is your UN, World Bank, IMF, international organizations. So totally 5 subtopics under your international relations. Fine. So we'll be focusing first on polity part, and then governance, and then social justice, and then at the end we'll be doing IR. Now, before getting into the what kind of questions have they asked on each and every subtopic, what we'll do is we'll broadly have a broader idea about mains angle. See, the basic assumption that you have to always take in UPSC is that I've already told you even now itself. This is the core always. And then another assumption. Minimum 2/3 of the questions will repeat from the same themes every year. This is 100% sure, there is no doubt about it, unless UPSC tries to make it very complicated, which chances is less for simple reason. UPSC does not have the pressure to eliminate so many people here. See, in prelims what they have to do, imagine how many people they have to eliminate. That pressure is not there on UPSC in mains. And 2, as I keep telling, detailed, very, very detailed syllabus, they have to stick to that, or else UPSC has to take the blame. Prelims, syllabus is not detailed, they can ask anything. So that's why stick to the syllabus and PVQs always. Then, based on again 2013 to 2023 analysis, I am telling, you can categorize questions into 3. Yesterday also I was telling, but yesterday I would have just briefed it. Category A means, in simple terms, I'm just telling the basics first, then we'll also discuss about the answer writing, then we'll go to the typical content part. So you'll have very, very direct questions, which is 12 to 14. Fine. And here you have a chance of getting even greater than 50% score. Means in a 10 marker, you can even get 5, 5.5. Maybe if it's extraordinary, presentation aspect, everything, they may give you 6 also. Understood? So this is where your scores will have a high chance of improvement. Fine. Then you will have your category B. Category B questions, which will be mostly, or first let's define what do you mean by that. Vague general questions. Means you know the demand of the question, you don't know how to write 2 sides or 3 sides. These kind of questions will be 5 to 6. Again, depending on how many are category A. Here, maximum you may score 40 or maybe 45% score. Means for a 10 marker, they may give you 4. Okay, you have still managed well, 4.5. So that is your category B. Always remember, more or less every serious candidate will handle this, because you would have put that effort. More or less it's a direct question, it's a repeated question. This, whoever handles these questions better, get that 5 to 10 marks more. Because a normal you have put the effort, but you have not written answers more. So you are not able to manage that. You are not able to even write more than 1 side or 1.5 side. You may end up getting 3, 3.5 for a 10 marker. One who has better managerial skills, how to tricks and all those things, he may end up getting 4, 4.5. So every question you add 3 10 marker, 3 15 marker, that itself makes minimum 5 to 8 marks difference. Understood? So if you want to get into that 120 plus range, you have to handle category B very, very well. Category A, I don't have to tell, because even if you have put serious effort, you will only handle it because it's a pretty direct question. You will have content, you will have everything, examples, everything you will have. So more or less everybody will handle. Understood? Then comes your category C, which is very rare, which is what you can call it as random question. You don't have any specific content, absolutely nothing. But that kind of questions are very rare. It can be 0 to 1. More or less, as I have seen in the last 3-4 years also, you don't have that questions. At least in GS2 you don't have. Maybe GS3, I'm not saying that in detail. If in case you may have it in GS3, maybe GS1 art and culture kind of questions also maybe. But GS2, as far as I have seen in the last 5-8 years, there was, I think probably 2016 or something, they had asked a question on, write a note on the UNESCO's McBride Commission report. McBride Commission report, it was not in news that year. It was some report which was submitted some 30-40 years back. Maybe there was some review or something, they had asked that question. If the question is on UNESCO, let's say, that becomes your category A. Let's say they ask a question on UNESCO, 15 marker. What will you write for 15 marker on UNESCO? Last 2 years back, they asked a question on Attorney General of India, 15 marker. What will you write for 15 marker? There is no such content to write, but they'll ask. That's the game they play. UPSC plays this game also. Wherever they feel, okay, students normally may have 10 marker content here, they'll ask it as 15 marker. Wherever they have 15 marker content, they'll ask you as 10 marker. Both are challenge. See, if they ask a 10 marker as 15 marker, how will you generate content and manage? If they ask a 15 marker as 10 marker, what should you write, what should you skip? So both are challenging. That's why it's a managerial trick again. That all we'll discuss. When you write PVQs, you'll understand, okay, based on that, how can you structure it? Clear? Okay, this is most important. And next comes your how to structure. Again, always remember, right, answer writing part I am telling. One is the structure of the answer. Second one is the organization part. organization, and you take it as presentation also. Then comes your, you can say, content part, content and substantiation. Fine. So all the three matters a lot. This is your typical introduction, body, conclusion part. This is your obviously what organization, space alignment, to the font size, to the spacing between words, to the spacing between lines, to the mind maps that you use, to the tabular columns that you use, to the whatever, everything, handwritings, everything comes under here. And this one, organization, presentation itself, that itself will give you 0.5 to 1 invisible marks every question. You undoubtedly it will give you. Fine. This will give you again 0.5 to 1 marks, no doubt about it. Substantiation does not necessarily mean example. You have to make it as broader angle. Let's say, let's talk about GS2 angle. When you say substantiation, what all does it include? Right from keywords to articles, to the cases, to the reports, to the quotes. Understood? Of course, examples, facts, number, statistics kind of a one. Everything will fall under your substantiation, not only example. It's a broader angle. It is like you're just validating your answer, your point. Both content as well as substantiation will matter there. Fine. Now, these are very basics one. You may have a fair idea, but I'm just clarifying in the beginning because they again and again we can't keep doing this. Now, let's say for example, introduction part. So how should I do it? Again, there are different parts. First, best way to do it is what? This is the best way. This is the best way to start your introduction. Just define the keyword or topic of the question. So if the question is on parliamentary sovereignty, tell what do you mean by parliamentary sovereignty. If the question is on federalism, first start by defining what do you mean by federalism. Parliamentary system, what is parliamentary system? Judicial independence or judicial activism, what is judicial activism? What is judicial review? Best way to start your answer. Sometimes what happens, you can't define the keyword because they frame question in such a way that they'll make it very, very broad. Then what you have to do? You have to search for the context or what you call it as origin. Understood? Especially history kind of questions works like this. Let's say for example, if the question is on Government of India Act 1935. So you cannot define Government of India Act 1935. Then what you have to do? Government of India Act was passed by British legislature based on which one? Based on the so-and-so report. I mean, this is what round table conferences report, all that is the context you are specifying, that angle. Sometimes you may not also get this. Then what you have to do? You have to give it a contemporary church. Let's say for example, if the question is on new education policy, you have to start by saying the new education policy was passed in 2020 based on the recommendation of Kasturi Rangan committee report. It tries to transform Indian education to the needs of 21st century knowledge economy. Context or contemporary angle you are giving. So, but this is the best way. But that you may not get it always, that depends. For example, if the question is on what do you call finance commission, you can't define finance commission, right? What you can tell that finance commission is a constitutional body established by president every 5 years once. Article 280 talks about it. And then if you want another point, you can write it. It is the most important body to determine center-state financial relations. So you are not defining here. You are kind of what, maybe it falls under broadly under context angle. So that depends. When you write PVQs more, you will understand better. We'll do that. Then the body part. Again, always understand, even here, subparts matter a lot. There are multiple ways of subparts. See, sometimes what the UPSC does, like more or less every year or every question, they will only specify the subparts. For example, they may say that judicial activism has contributed to strengthening of democracy. However, it also has unintended consequences on the balance of power with other organs. Critically examine. That means what they are only telling you, that judicial activism has contributed, has been good for democracy, but there are some negatives. So that means they are clearly telling you, you have to define, you have to tell what are the positives, you have to tell what are the challenges, tell what is the way forward. But sometimes what they do, they will not give you subparts. Directly they will tell, critically analyze the recently introduced digital data protection bill. Where is the subpart here? You might have addressed all of these things by now. Then what you have to do, you have to generate the subpart. You cannot directly go and criticize. First what you have to do, again, same structure. First write the features. Sir, they have not asked the features, doesn't matter. See, for an evaluator, how can you directly write the importance? Always keep that in mind. Evaluator is already a person in 50s or 60s. You cannot directly write the criticism part. You have to start from scratch. Even if it's a 10 marker, and if the question is on digital personal data protection bill, sir, I have a lot of content, but then I don't have space. It's a 10 marker. Then what you have to do? Don't generate a subpart. Features of digital data protection bill. At least 5 important features, just note down. If it is a bill, if it is an act, if it is a policy, you cannot directly go to the importance. First tell the core basics of the policy or act. Then go to the importance. Understood? Okay. Now let's say, for example, you have subpart 1. Again, just clarifying, under every subpart, make it a rule, maximum you have to write 5 to 6 points. Maximum, I am telling. Sir, I have 8 points, 10 points. It is not going to give you additional value, because from an evaluator's mindset, once he looks at first 2 or 3 points, if impression is made, you generate another 10 points, it is still the same value. Sir, but I have more points. Then what you do? Divide it again, subdivide, and then you have to do it. If you can't subdivide, stick to 5, 6 points and then sum up. In addition, so and so other features are also there, just sum up. Understood? So that's what maximum point rule. So maximum 5, 6 points. Then again within that, let's say if it is a category A question, means what? You have many points to write. Stick to point format. If it is category A question, means direct and you have a lot of content, stick to point format. Sir, what do you mean by point format? 2 lines max. Understood? How many points? 5 to 6 points. That is the point format. Let's say, for example, it's a category B question, means what? You don't have too much of specific content, but you have to write a 15 marker. Automatically shift to, that's a trick that you have to use. Automatically shift to the short para format. Short para means what? 3. Maximum. Never ever write an answer or a point in 6 lines, 7 lines explaining one single point. In GS it will not work. Maybe a case study, okay. Essay obviously, not in GS. 3, maximum 4 lines points. Then at that time you can't write 5 to 6. Then what you have to do? You have to write 3 to 4 points. If it is what I am telling. Category B question. Category C, as I told, you don't have any specific content, you just have to keep it at the end. Whatever you remember in and around the topic, you have to write. So many students, even when we wrote that UNESCO McBride Commission report, most 99% of students did know what is McBride Commission. Then what do you have to write? Write about UNESCO. Yes, there is no other option. Half a page, 1 page. At least they may give you 1 mark, 1.5 mark. Who knows? That itself may bring you back to your home cadre. You never know, because that is how the marks work. Or else you might have been some other state, so you may come back to, because that's how ranks work, right? With 1 rank, so many people will be there. That itself may make a difference. But that kind of, as I told, in the last 4 or 5 years is 0. Maximum 1 question. Clear? Now this is one part. Again, each and every point what you write. Let's say for example, you write a subpart under that one point. First always remember, you have to give a basic argument. Do not go directly to the content part, I mean substantiation part. First basic argument, then comes your substantiation. Because always remember, evaluator will be clear with the concepts. Evaluator may not be clear with the examples and facts, because he is a person in 50s and 60s. You have to make his life easy, so write the basic arguments first. Then when you get examples, facts, reports, cases, you substantiate. Fine. Even substantiation part, you don't ideally have to do it for each and every point, because it's impossible. You are only going to, like, sir, when I write a point, should I keep writing examples for everything? Ideally you can say yes, but how do you do it practically? It's not so easy. So maximum, keep it as a rule, 50% points. If you write 6 points, at least 3 points substantiate. You write 5 points, at least 3, maybe 4. I mean, that's what depends. Minimum 50% points you try to substantiate. If you want 50% score, you have to substantiate 50% points. That is how it works. So that's your each and every one, how many points should be there under each subtopic. Clear? And as I told, irrespective of is it a 10 marker or 15 marker, if you are identifying the criticism, you have to write solution. No doubt about it. Sometimes what happens, especially in a 10 marker, sir, I can't generate it another dimension now. Then what you have to do, whenever you write, let's say, criticism, when you write a point there itself what you do, what can be the solution? Because you may not be able to generate another dimension. So you have to write solution there. Let's say it's a 15 marker, then what you do? Rub it, another dimension, either as way forward, recommendation, suggestion, and then generate it. Any which way is fine, but when you write criticism, you should write solution. Clear? And then the conclusion part. The more and more we write the conclusion, you will get a better idea. Conclusion is always, remember, you have to sum up. You have to sum up entire answer in 3, 2, maximum. Conclusion matters a lot, because you may not add anything extra there, but the way you conclude it itself will give you 0.5 marks. Conclusion will give you absolutely 0.5 marks is fixed. You write wonderful content, but you just leave it without conclusion, it is still 4.5. Because it doesn't, what it's, you are not making your answer holistic. It's a kind of, it's still incomplete. Abruptly you enter it. Fine, sum up your entire answer in 3 to 4 lines. Then again, don't introduce new points here. Never introduce new points. Then don't be pessimistic. Don't be negative. Like for example, if the question is on Pradhan Mantri, Gati Shakti Yojana, or Amrit Kal plan and all those things, Vision 2047 like that, after writing everything at the end, please don't say that unfortunately we are not going to meet the goals. That kind of Hindu arguments, you know, they may kind of a exclamatory kind of a one they use. Unfortunately, or probably India is not on the right track to meet its goal. Please don't use that language. Especially if those who read Hindu regularly, even in normal classes also I would have told you. Here I'll tell you more, because you guys have completed basics now. 2 things you should not do from the Hindu. First one, you should not use the Hindu language. That kind of English is prohibited. NCERT English you have to use. Second, the tone that they use, means the attitude that the Hindu uses. Have you observed that? When you read the Hindus more or less regularly, unknowingly, subconsciously, you would have started to feel that what? Okay, government is not working well, government is waste, so PM is waste. This kind of an attitude automatically gets ingrained in you. Because by definition, the Hindu is very, very anti-establishment attitude. Not just for this, even when Manmohan Singh was PM also, they'll say the same. That he is waste, he doesn't take strong, more or less every time you feel like that. So that tone, that language, both are not allowed. Understood? If you have identified that, okay, even with arguments with my friends and all those things, continuously I am arguing negatively, that means that attitude will work negatively for mains. If you're so smart that no sir, my personal opinion is different, on paper I read differently, that's you're smart. Or else be very cautious. Start reading the Indian Express more regularly, Live Mint regularly, because they are more balanced. Understood? Indian Express is actually, in terms of opinion oriented, even language is much, much better paper. Hindu gives you wonderful knowledge, agreed. But opinion is completely EPW. Don't even touch EPW. Economic and Political Weekly, because absolutely very, very strict left. If you write that, you may get admissions to JNU but not civil service. No, correct. This is a very honest one. Down to earth magazine. Very continuously, if you read and if you become a fan of it, automatically you start feeling like what? Okay, no industry should be there, no mining should be there, everything should be tribal rights. How do you conduct development projects then? How are you going to become civil servant then? So, yeah, down to earth, you read it, agreed. Don't take their opinions to heart. It is just to analyze, okay, how are they, what kind of behavior or what kind of attitude they have. It is just for that sake. You take it personally, automatically opinions will vary. If not in mains, it will come out in interview then. That's why always understand, you have to work pro-state, pro-establishment. You are going to become a civil servant. That even normally when in interviews I keep telling for students, even here I am telling again. Any party in power, you should just keep supporting them. They will not get to too much of ideologies, even in interview or in mains. But largely, you should be pro the party in power. Pro-state, pro-establishment. Not anti-establishments like that. Clear? So that is another one. Okay, fine. So I think broadly this is how, the more and more conclusions you write, you will understand. Now another aspects which normally, as I told yesterday also, which is very, very important aspect is consistency throughout the paper. Completion of paper is first point. You cannot come out of mains without completing the paper. 100% you have to complete it, unless it was a category C question. Then it's fine. Or else impossible to get into top 50 or top 100 without completing the paper. And then consistency throughout the paper. So if you want to be consistent, then what you have to do? You have to write per question, not per 3 hours. Yesterday also I was telling you that, but because it's the first class, I'm just summing up once for all, because few students might not have attended, and yesterday would have just listened for the sake of it. You have to be consistent throughout the paper. Then again, sir, how should I approach it? For example, let's say if you have given 3 hours, normally you start with 10 markers, 15 markers, however you do it. How do you do it? You start with 10 marker or you directly start with 15 marker? 10 markers. Okay, so any which way will work, but based on larger feedback and also experience, what I will tell you is, maybe if you believe that, sir, I think impression matters, sir, like remember that first impression, best impression kind of a one, I still believe in that, then what you can do is, first 2 to 3 10 marker you can write. You can write 2 to 3 10 marker first. Then you have to shift to 15 markers. This is best approach. If you believe in impression part. Now, if you are a person who believes, sir, whenever I write, my more or less my handwriting, everything will still remain the same, then directly start with 15 marker, then come back to 10 marker. If you believe impression part, write 2 to 3 10 marker, then go to 15, then again come back and finish the others. Understood? So this is how you have to manage. There are so many students manage in different way. Some people, what they do, let's say GS2, they divide it, polity part, governance part, all those things. Polity and constitution, 15 markers they write first. Then polity and constitution, 10 markers they finish. Then governance 15 mark, governance 10 mark. Social justice 15 mark, social justice 10 mark. Sir, why do they do that? Because obviously what will happen, if you have observed regularly when you keep writing same kind of questions, automatically content will keep improving. If parliament question, judiciary question, federalism question, constitution question, if you keep writing, automatically what will happen? Same kind of words, keywords will keep coming. That's why what they do, 10 marker of polity, 15 marker governance, 10 marker governance. Social, that also they do. Some students feel, no sir, I can't keep doing that. Let me go in a flow. 15 marker means I'll finish all 15. 10 marker means that all depends only once you start writing 3 hours test. Once you do that, then you will understand, okay, will that work for me? Will this work? Like for example, for you in your prelims, imagine how much you would have tried. When should I mark OMR? When should I mark all of those things you would have tried and tested same way. And so that depends. Then another point which always you have to keep it in mind is what? Very simple basics. When you say 10 marker, allocate maximum 7 minutes. When you say 15 marker, allocate maximum 10 minutes. Understood? Do not allocate more than 8 or 9 minutes for a 10 marker because it's going to compromise other question. If in case you take 0.5 or 1 minute extra for one question, you have to compensate somewhere else. No, because if you do this, that means you are planning for 170 minutes and the exam is for. So still you have 5 to 10 minutes buffer. Obviously this is ideal. In practice you will compensate one or other way, it will stretch to 175, 178 minutes. That's how you have to manage. Clear? Yeah, so then obviously as we normal aspects, demand of the questions matter the most. So in and around, for example, category B question, you cannot write completely to the demand of the question. For category B, what you have to do? You have to write around the topic. For category A, write to the topic. If it is category A direct question, you should write address the topic. If it is category B, what you have to do? You should generate the points in and around the topic because you don't have much content. Sir, they have not asked features, doesn't matter, write the features. Sir, they have not asked why the bill was introduced, doesn't matter, you generate the point. Reasons for introducing the bill. Because that is how you can manage a category B question. Some issue here, okay. Fine, so that is broadly the first basics of how to handle. 1 second, I'll just. Okay, now let's start with the first subtopic for the heading, historical underpinnings. Which actually here everything combines. Whatever you study as basic, recall, every basics will come here. Under this historical subtopics, I'll show the questions itself, you will get a better idea. Fine, under this, what kind of questions have they asked? Largely they have asked about fundamental rights. The most important topic under entire one. See, when you are writing historical underpinnings topics, means what? Historical underpinnings, significant features of constitution, important amendments, basic structure. Under all this one, which is, remember in Lakshmikant is the part 1 major part, fundamental rights, DPSP, duty, preamble, so and so everything. Largely they have asked questions on fundamental rights only. It is the most important topic. Now first start with that, fundamental rights. What all questions have they asked? Look at the 2023 question. Okay. This one, which is what, 2023? Directly write this word. Look at this. It is a constitution made for progressive society, special reference with respect to right to life and liberty. Just in simple terms, we'll write the question later. 2023 question is what? Under fundamental rights you are writing expansion of the scope of Article 21. Expansion of the scope of Article 21. That's what is your right to life and liberty. Under 2023 you have another question which is this. Look at the question. Explain the constitution. All those things you don't have to write, directly write it as constitutionalization of gender justice or constitutional provisions related to gender justice. 2023, another question. Constitutional provisions related to gender justice. Constitutional provisions related to gender justice. Clear? 2023 questions. 2022, which is same pattern. Observe the pattern here. Whatever you wrote here, constitutionalization of gender justice. 2022 is what? Look at the word. Constitutionalization of, what is it? Environment. Constitutionalization of environment means what? What are the various Supreme Court cases related to environment? Remember, we keep telling MC Mehta cases, Union Carbide case, sustainable development related few cases are there, Ganga Yamuna river pollutions case, NGT, National Green Tribunal, that angle, environment related case. Constitutionalization of environment, 2022. Then 2017, which is very famous question, you might have observed by now, this one. Obviously, because in 2017, what was you had which judgment you had 2017? Puttaswamy, same 2017 question. Right to privacy or scope of right to privacy. Right to privacy. We'll write the answers. First, you have to write the basics first. That is 2017 question. Then 2022, another question. Okay, we missed out this. This very simple one. 2022. Right to movement. 19 clause 1 subclause D, 19 clause 1 subclause E. Right to movement and residence. This is very basic question. Every year they'll ask one or two basic questions also. Right to movement and residence of the citizens. Fundamental rights, 2022. Then 2015 question is there. This is 2015, which is what? Right to clean environment related to Diwali crackers, because that year Supreme Court had given a judgment. Remember that issue continuously, which keeps going on during Diwali. Someone will go to the courts and say, sir, too much of environment pollution, please come up with some restrictions, that angle. Right to clean environment related to Diwali, burning of Diwali crackers, 2015. Related to the burning of Diwali crackers. Fine. Then comes your 14, which is what? Freedom of speech and expression does not include hate speech. Sorry, not hate speech. Same. Does it cover hate speech? Freedom of speech and expression does not cover hate speech. Understood? That is 2014 question on fundamental rights. Again, they can look at 2013 question. This is what? Shreya Singhal judgment. Section 66A IT Act, Shreya Singhal judgment, because I think 2011 or 12 Shreya Singhal judgment was there. Next year you had the question. Section 66A Information Technology Act, Shreya Singhal case. 66A IT Act, Shreya Singhal case. Clear? Then I think fundamental rights is, that's it. Right to free, okay, fine. Then, if you want all the questions under, let's finish it off. Then, under DPSP, what questions are there? DPSP, UCC, which year? 2015. So, only one question has been asked on DPSP in mains. 2015, what is the question? UCC, Uniform Civil Code. Look at the question, you'll understand. We'll write the answers. Obviously, you would have studied by now. But writing part is the key here. And in fundamental rights also, privacy, all those things, Puttaswamy judgment will be knowing. But if you have practiced the answers, that's a different. Or else we have to do all those writing part here. DPSP only one. Then preamble question, look at it. 2016, preamble, adjectives in the word republic. Adjectives in the word republic. See, look at that was actually again a, what do you call as this checkpoint, that is, it's a trap question. Look at that. discuss each adjective attached to the word republic in the preamble. Means what? Sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic. Republic one. So those 4 words you have to discuss. Second part, look at it, they have asked, are they defendable in the present circumstances? Obviously you have to say yes, because look at the year question 2016. That means what? Emergence of Narendra Modi, all those things. Now if you are reading the Hindu regularly and what you say, yes, democracy is under threat, secularism is under threat if you write. No, actually the actual part it is, look at it, directly they are asking you, are they defendable? If you say yes sir, secularism is under threat, the extreme right wing party is on right, if you write, automatically gone, evaluator will take you out then. I'm sure you have to write, there may be certain challenges, but India is very good, say very strong secular country, very strong democratic country, stand only have to take. You cannot say it is under threat and all those things, the people are not sovereign at all, ultimate, that all stands you cannot take. Clear? Okay, fine. So that is, are they defendable angle. Then emergency, very direct question, very basics, 2018, financial emergency, only one question on emergency till now. 2018, financial emergency. Detailed answers we'll write. First let's understand what kind of questions are they asking under each subtopic. Then this is not a theme, it doesn't get repeated so often. 2015 Kap Panchayats, because that year there was a land or some issue, controversy related to Kap Panchayats. If I recall, maybe in some class also I might have told, if in case you might have come across the issues by now. 2015 Kap Panchayats. Fine, then 2019 basic structure and article 368. 2019 basic structure and article 368. Basic structure and article 368. Fine, means, do you think basic structure is, more or less if you look at the exact question what they tell, in the light of the statement, means which statement? Parliament's power to amend the constitution is limited power. Do you think, or whether Parliament under 368, can they destroy basic structure itself? Means in article 368 what they say, remember you had a prelims question also this year. Under 368 what all can you do? Article 368 says what? Parliament through its amending power what they can do? They can add, repeal, or what do you call it, this vary any provision of the constitution according to the provisions, procedure provided under that. In other words, you can make any change. But basics, does it mean that article 368 using that, can you take away basic structure itself? That's the question. Whether Parliament under 368 can destroy basic structure. Obviously stand is what? No, you cannot destroy it, because any control on basic structure only who will have? Supreme Court will have. Parliament will neither determine it, they cannot add, delete, nothing you can do. Clear? We'll come to the writing detailed part, that is later. Then 2021, more or less same pattern. See, this is basic structure question. 2 years later, 2021, constitutional morality with Supreme Court cases. Constitutional morality with Supreme Court cases, judicial interpretations. Constitutional morality with Supreme Court judgments. Right? Then this is also a look at, if you look at this question, 2013 question, look at 2019 question. Actually it is more or less the same. This is also on power, Parliament's amending power. Look at the question. Supreme Court keeps a check on arbitrary power of the Parliament in amending constitution. Again, it actually comes down to what? Basic structure, judicial review, judicial activism, same question. 2013. This is under which one you are telling? Okay, those three, I mean, I forgot to mention. Basic structure, constitutional morality, this. You put under broader heading, constitutional amendment. Which one? Basic structure, constitutional morality, and this third question. For that, a subheading that you have to keep note is what? Amendment of constitution. Recall again, that's your basics. Then, only one question on Union and Territories chapter, this one. Union and Territories, creation of small states. Remember, because that year, which issue? 2013, Telangana issue was going on. So it's already 10 years, in this year it's not under discussion. but you have to write the answer, that will do it. Union and Territories chapter, creation of small states. So if you look at the question, can it be justified that more number of small states will bring effective governance? Means small states and governance question. So this is under your, it's a very broad topic, which is on most of the basics of constitution. Two other questions are there that is related to the comparison and separation of power that we'll discuss later. Got an idea, right? So that means under this broader subheading, which is the most important one, fundamental rights. Fine. But if you go by direct one, before writing fundamental, okay, let's start with basics of fundamental. So first, what content should be there in your notes with respect to fundamental rights? Even look at the questions on fundamental rights. Are they asking question on, let's say, for example, preventive detention, writs? They are not asking there. When they are asking questions on fundamental rights, they are mostly linking it with what? Supreme Court judgments. Article 21, gender justice, environmental cases, right to privacy, Diwali case, Shreya Singhal case. See, more or less they are linking to what? Fundamental rights and Supreme Court judgments. Fine. Last year you had, not landmark because they are not upholded it, same-sex marriage issue, right to abortion issue. That is where you will get kind of mains related questions on fundamental rights. But before getting into that, you need some basics because you can't directly go to writing part. Because let's focus on the conceptual clarity. You have obviously studied fundamental rights chapter, but what should be there in your mains note? Let's write that first. Then we'll write the PYQ answers. Please write. We are not going into explanation part. What should be there in your notes with respect to fundamental rights? Directly, fundamental rights. Fundamental rights, what should be there? First point, inspired from Bill of Rights. Inspired from US Bill of Rights. Famously called as what? Because these statements will help you in your introduction and conclusion part. Famously called as Magna Carta of Indian Constitution. Famously called as Magna Carta of Indian Constitution. Magna Carta of Indian Constitution. Then the substantiation part, very simple. Part 3, Article 12 to Article 35. Part 3, Article 12 to Article 35. Article 12 to Article 35. Fine. Then directly just put a kind of significance. Very quickly we'll sum up. Significance. Because that all points will help you in your answers. Significance. First one, checks on arbitrary power by the state. Checks on arbitrary power of state. Checks on the arbitrary power of state. B, extension of that, prevents concentration of power or tyranny of power. Prevents concentration of power. Prevents concentration of power. Then upholds secularism. Because whenever you are writing your arguments, you can use these points. Upholds secularism. Then protects rights of minorities. Protects rights of minorities. Protects rights of minorities. Then promotes civil liberties. Promotes civil liberties. Then necessary for personality development of an individual. Promotes civil liberties. Necessary for personality development of an individual. Personality development of an individual. Fine. Then next angle, which even in basics you might have written, broader angle, because you never know, sometimes you may have to use it in answers, because whenever you write right to privacy, all those things, trinity of bills, not bills, trinity of rights. Recall what are called as trinity of rights? Oh, that is different. That is what you're calling it as golden triangle. Trinity of rights. UDHR, ICCPR, ICESCR. Recall all this is basics only. We have started that conceptual part which should be there in your notes. Trinity of rights. Of course, when you write this, you can also link to which one if you want. Golden triangle. That obviously you know, I don't have to tell, just now you guys told. Which is what? 14, 19, 21. Which judgment? Maneka Gandhi, 1978. Golden triangle, 14, 19, 21, Maneka Gandhi. Then another point which should be there, generations of human rights. At least first 3 generations you have to keep it in mind. First generation human rights, ICCPR. Civil political rights, which is what? Right to vote, right to contest elections, equality. Second generation is what? Right to education, health, jobs, livelihood. Second generation. Then third is what? Third generation human rights, which is what? Let's use a better word. Collective rights, like UNCRC, UNCRPWD, UNCEDAW, Convention on Rights of Children, Rights of Persons with Disabilities, Elimination of Discrimination against Women. These are very basics. You would have studied even in your normal class also. But you have to use those arguments. Then if in case they ask, fourth generation is what? Fourth generation human rights. Rights of non-living entities or non-human entities. Rights of non-human or non-living entities. Non-human or non-living entities. Fine. Then fifth generation is what is your? Digital rights. In fact, some people clarify that non-living under fifth generation also, you can also add here sustainable development rights, fourth generation. Fourth generation, you also add sustainable development, future generation rights, fourth generation. Sustainable development, okay, fine. So these are basic aspects, and then they will normally doesn't ask this, but keep that in mind because in mains it doesn't matter much. Fundamental, constitutional, statutory, legal. Because that's a prelims angle. What is a constitutional right? All those things they ask, but here it doesn't matter much for us. Right? Then directly, characteristics of fundamental rights, very basics. Then we'll go to the PVQs. Characteristics of FR. Just few major ones, and then we'll mention the major cases. Then directly we'll go with answers. What are the major characteristics? Available for all citizens. Or first right, available for foreigners, citizens and foreigners. Available for citizens as well as foreigners. But for foreigners, what is not there? 15, 16, 19, 29, 30. available for citizens and foreigners. For foreigners, add it as except 15, 16, 19, 29, 30. Fine. Then obviously basic point, not absolute, but what? It is not absolute, it is qualified. It is not absolute, it is qualified. Fine. That means what automatically? Reasonable restrictions. Then not sacrosanct means you can amend it. Not absolute, it is qualified. That means reasonable restriction. Next one, not sacrosanct. Then obviously what? Not justiciable. Justiciability. Justiciable. Then Supreme Court guarantor. Supreme Court guarantor. Because sometimes they ask a very basic question also, like emergency question they ask. Then which one? Negative in nature. Negative means what? Puts restrictions on the actions of the state. Of course, sometimes individuals also. Negative in character. Negative in character. Then we'll only mention broader rights, we'll not get into the details, that's all your prelims. Broadly, Constitution provides 6 FR. Constitution provides 6 fundamental rights. Assalina. Constitution provides 6 fundamental rights. Obviously mention the broad groupings. Right to equality, 14 to 18. Right to equality, 14 to 18. Right to freedom, 19 to 22. Right to freedom, 19 to 22. Then right against exploitation, 23, 24. Right against exploitation, 23, 24. Then right to religion, freedom of religion. Right to religion, 25, 28. 25 to 28. Rights of minorities, 29, 30. Right to minorities, 29, 30. Then right to constitutional remedy, 32. This is basics. Other things, what do you mean by all those things? Equality before law, equal protection of law, all those things is not necessary. Whenever it is needed, I'll keep telling those ones. You keep noting it down. This basics if you have. Now let's start with the first major answer itself. Let's look at it, because remember, as I keep telling, if you have an idea about, okay, on fundamental rights, what kind of questions have they already asked? Firstly, if you write answers for that also, this is my belief, because some people tell, sir, it's already asked, what should I, they will not repeat the question again. They will not repeat, but more or less, the arguments, the language that you use more or less will overlap. So that's why first let's write this major case, which is what? Let's write the answer. Put the heading. Exactly note down the question. You tell me how can you structure it. Of course, I'll tell you the overall content. So look at the exact demand. Idರಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆಯಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ವಾ? Pen I can't highlight here. Okay, I think I should make it editable. So did you do the question? Explain the, what you have to link? You have to link to that. Examine the scope of fundamental rights in the light of right to privacy judgment. Is actually what they are asking. They are not asking you just what is K.S. Puttaswamy judgment. What are they actually asking? Because of this judgment, how will it impact on the scope of fundamental rights in the future? Will it expand? That is what they are asking. Understood? So then how should you structure? Because the question is on fundamental rights. Maybe first you can start by fundamental rights. Some people start directly with K.S. Puttaswamy. First note down the question if in case you have still not noted. Quick. Because the exact wordings matter a lot. If you understand this pattern, any year they ask any question, more or less it is still the same. As I told, few probable are there. I'll show you that. Then we'll discuss that later. First, let's write PYQs few. Fine. Okay. Let's start by basics first. Intro. What should be there? Fundamental rights. Fundamental rights. Whatever you wrote the basics now. Fundamental rights are famously called as Magna Carta of Indian Constitution. Because that words, if the evaluator comes across itself, it will have an impression marks. Fundamental rights are famously called as the Magna Carta of Indian Constitution. Now, where is it mentioned? Very basics you need to mention there. Famously called as a Magna Carta of Indian Constitution. It is mentioned in part 3 of the Constitution. You know that basics you write. Mentioned in part 3 of the Constitution from article 12 to 35. This is again, look at it, a kind of substantiation angle. Part 3 of the Constitution from article 12 to 35. That is basics. Now next para, what you can write? No, fine. ART is fine. Capital A, article 12 to article 35 is also fine. You don't have to necessarily write article entire. Article, if you write like this, that is also fine. Or just capital A 12 to article capital A 35 is also will work. That's okay. Now next, Supreme Court is the ultimate interpreter of the Constitution. So you are just putting the foundation now. Supreme Court is the ultimate interpreter of the Constitution as well as what? Guarantor of fundamental rights. Supreme Court is the ultimate interpreter of the Constitution as well as guarantor of fundamental rights. Hence, what it has done? Hence, it has continuously expanded. Hence, it has continuously expanded the scope of fundamental rights. Hence, it has continuously expanded the scope of fundamental rights. And so, this is overall picture you have given. Now, the question is about which one? Right to privacy. If you are telling right to privacy, first which article you have to write? Which article? 21. Clarify below. Article 21. Article 21 says that no person shall be deprived. Again, largely we'll write for 15 marker contents. If it's a 10 marker, you have to cut it short. That I'll tell you how to do it. Article 21 says that no person shall be deprived of, you know that, right? Yes, his or her right to life and liberty. No person shall be deprived of his right to life and liberty except according to the procedure established by law. Except according to procedure established by law. Fine, this is basics. First you tell how that scope was expanded. Except according to PEBL, you write procedure established by law. Of course, in May answers, you have to write full. Maneka Gandhi case expanded the scope of Article 21. See, you still overall foundation you are putting. Maneka Gandhi case expanded scope of Article 21 by introducing which concept? Due process of law. Maneka Gandhi case expanded the scope of Article 21 by introducing the concept of due process of law. introducing the concept of due process of law. Now this is where, this is basics one, whatever, because the moment evaluator comes across that, he'll understand, okay, you have understood the demand of the question, you have identified that it is related to 21, you have identified that due process of law, Maneka Gandhi, that all, you know the basics because you are writing so many keywords, look at it, look at how many keywords you came across. One is which one, Maneka Gandhi case, due process, procedure established, guarantor, Magna Carta, that itself shows you have hold on the content. Now get to the judgment part. Directly you can put case Puttaswamy judgment here. Then, because if you don't write the judgment, you can't directly go to which one? The scope of fundamental rights, all those things. Case Puttaswamy case 2017. Case Puttaswamy case 2017. Okay, so you keep writing case Puttaswamy case 2017. So what did Supreme Court say here? Supreme Court said that right to privacy is an integral component of Article 21. Right to privacy is an integral component of Article 21. Again, look at this was your prelims question also. Now with this, what they did? Supreme Court reversed its own judgment in Karak Singh case. Because in Karak Singh case, it had told it is not part of right to privacy is not a fundamental right. Supreme Court reversed its own decision in Karak Singh case, in the previous Karak Singh case. Supreme Court reversed its own decision in Karak Singh case. Fine. Then next one, what all did they say? Right to privacy includes informational privacy, information related. That's what is your electoral bonds case. Right to privacy includes informational privacy, bodily privacy. Bodily means what? The physical body angle. Informational privacy, bodily privacy, reproductive rights of women, privacy of choice, etc. Reproductive rights of women, privacy of choice, etc. Clear? Now this is the basics. Now how will it expand, or how has it expanded? This judgment has expanded the scope of fundamental rights. Now you are coming to the core part. This judgment, Puttaswamy judgment, has expanded. This judgment has expanded the scope of fundamental rights. It has expanded the scope of fundamental rights. Sir, how? Then that you clarify below. Navtej Singh Johar case. Navtej Singh Johar case. So obviously recall, what is the case related to? Gender identity. Supreme Court said that right to gender identity is also part of Article 21. Navtej Singh Johar case, Supreme Court said that right to gender identity is also part of Article 21. Hence, what they did? Section 377 IPC, what? Unconstitutional. Hence, Section 377 of IPC declared unconstitutional. Section 377 of IPC declared unconstitutional. So that is first angle. Second angle, Supreme Court also said that right to be forgotten. Supreme Court also said that right to be forgotten is also part of, or is a digital right, part of right to privacy. Just playing with the keywords. Supreme Court said that right to be forgotten Even Delhi High Court also has certain cases, is a digital right which is part of right to privacy. Part of right to privacy. And then in Hadia case, recall Hadia case, which is what? Right to choose a life partner, right to marry. In Hadia case, Supreme Court said that right to marry is part of Article 21, or right to this choose a life partner, any words you can use. In Hadia case, Supreme Court said that right to marry is also part of Article 21. Then the recent electoral bonds case. In electoral bonds case, ADR case, famously ADR. Official name is ADR, famous electoral bonds case. Supreme Court agreed in electoral bonds case, that is ADR case, Supreme Court agreed that informational privacy means whatever the donations what they had given, informational privacy is part of 21. Informational privacy is part of 21. Understood? Of course, the case was related to something else, unconstitutional angle, all those things is not necessary here. Now, how it keeps expanding? Now, what still is pending? That also you clarify. In addition, what all may expand? In addition, right to same-sex marriage, right to same-sex marriage, right to abortion, right to abortion may also be included in this in the future. So we still don't know. We have to wait for that. That's why we are not saying it will be. It may also get included in the future. It may also get included in the future. See, whatever you have written till here is what? What was that Puttaswamy judgment? What was it actually related to? How it may expand or how it has expanded. Now, what is the other dimension you have to write? Just because you expand, will it work? Will it not create a balance between what? Right to privacy is one angle. What about security? What about sovereignty issues? What about right to information issues? What if you have a challenges for this? That's the next sub-dimension you have to generate, clarify. This judgment or right to privacy judgment, whatever, this judgment will also have an impact on this judgment will also have an impact on other aspects of governance. This judgment will also have an impact on other aspects of governance. Now you tell me which all aspects will have an impact? Which all aspects? First one, right to privacy versus right to information, as seen in which one? Electoral bonds case. Right to privacy versus right to information, as seen in the electoral bonds case. See, we are just making this question like today's, as seen in electoral bonds case. 2. Challenges with respect to security. Challenges with respect to security, which may compromise India's sovereignty. Challenges with respect to security, which may compromise India's sovereignty. Which may compromise India's sovereignty. Which may compromise India's sovereignty. And that is then the next one, enforcement of broader spectrum of right to privacy. Means how will you implement all these things? Enforcement of the broader spectrum of right to privacy is a challenge on capabilities of state, because we don't have that level of human resource or financial resource. Enforcement of the broader scope or broader spectrum of right to privacy is a challenge on the capabilities of state. Yeah? This another angle. So, and another angle is also there. You can clarify that also below. Implementation of Aadhaar, caste-based census, implementation of Aadhaar, caste-based census may also face challenges. We have seen all this. Because even for Aadhaar, what people will tell, see my fingerprint, my iris, all those angles will bring. Implementation of Aadhaar, caste-based census may also face challenges. Bracket, just to clarify which one, recent Bihar caste census issue. Because a lot of people went to court saying, why are you collecting my caste data? Recent Bihar caste census issue. Recent Bihar caste census issue. Now, this is the challenges it may impact. Then how should you address it then? Way forward. Way forward. Digital Personal Data Protection Bill. Now it is an act. Digital Personal Data Protection Act and Justice Sri Krishna report. Digital Personal Data Protection Act and Justice Sri Krishna report. Justice Sri Krishna report should be implemented in spirit. Sri Krishna report should be implemented in spirit. That is one. With respect to what? Informational security and all those things. Second, triple test criteria given in Puttaswamy judgment. Triple test criteria. See, this content I could have told you normally also, but anyhow we are writing an answer. Triple test criteria given in case same judgment, case Puttaswamy judgment should be followed. Now what is the triple test? 3. What are they? Yes, first one, necessity. First of all means, is it necessary to compromise your privacy? First one is necessity. 2, legality. Do you have a law? Necessity. B, legality. 3, proportionality. To what extent are you compromising your privacy? Necessity, legality, proportionality. Proportionality. Fine. 2. If you still have a security angle, you can give 3. National Cyber Security Policy 2013. National Cyber Security Policy 2013 should be implemented. National Cyber Security Policy 2013 should be implemented. And so same for or if you want to complete again, you can say to protect against digital surveillance, digital threats, surveillance, whatever. So this is overall one. Now how do you sum up then? Conclusion. Supreme Court's judgment. Supreme Court's Puttaswamy judgment, you can say, or right to privacy judgment. Supreme Court's Puttaswamy judgment has accepted that. Supreme Court's Puttaswamy judgment has accepted that privacy is an integral part of human dignity. Supreme Court's judgment in Puttaswamy case has accepted that privacy is an integral component of dignity, human dignity. It is an integral component of human dignity. However, like other rights, what is privacy also then? Privacy is also not absolute. Like other rights, privacy, right to privacy is also not absolute. Then what do you have to do then? It should be balanced with. Right to privacy is also not absolute. It should be balanced with. Other aspects like welfare of the citizens, security of the state. it should be well balanced with other aspects of the state like welfare of the citizens and security of the state. So you are not introducing anything new here. As I kept telling, you have to sum up the entire answer. Welfare of the state, welfare of the citizens and security of the state. See, overall it's a broader question on what do you mean by right to privacy judgment, how it can, as it expanded the scope, what, of course, challenges way forward. Just try to go to the overall solution, answer what you have written, see how we have structured it, because this kind of content continuously will repeat. Last year ಅದೇ ತರ ಇದೆಯಾ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಟೈಮು? ಓಕೆ. Okay, which extra points have we added? ನೋಡಿ ಯಾರು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ವೈಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, like a case or something like that, if you have, you can. Last year what we had, this year what we did not mention, ಅದೇನಾದ್ರು ಇದ್ರೆ ಹೇಳಿ, judgment or fact or anything. Mostly same. Okay, fine. Because I'm just got it. So this is broader structure. Obviously in real time you can't write all these points. It's not possible so easily. Even if I write also, I can't write. Even if I'm doing only one subject also, I can't write. That's reality. Even if you can write how much? 70%, 80% of this, 50% score they have to mandatorily give it. There is no other option for them. But how do you have to manage? The keywords, remember regularly how we use Supreme Court, judgment, this, that, and that keywords you need to get. Judgments you need to get, articles you need to get, and overall presentation angle. How are you writing those words? You should not make it very complicated. You should not make it very, very simplistic. Somewhere you need a balance, as I keep telling, NCRT language. That if you have a balance, always you have a scope for 50%. Because remember, as I keep telling, there are students who have scored 127, 129, 125 also. Those are part of which course only I am telling. Because regularly if you keep on writing, that will get reflected in your answers. That's why I understood. Okay, that is one question. Then, which I had not done last. Okay, fine, no issues. Then this is another question last year's. Please add. Before that also you can write. Okay, both are same only. Because I think this will again repeat. You'll just look at it. Look at the question. Again related to Article 21, though not exactly privacy, but 21 only. Again, some students have this doubt. Sir, see, in this double inverted, they have talked about Constitution is a living instrument, capabilities of dynamism. It's a Constitution made for progressive society, all those things. Now, should I address this, or should I don't? Should I overlook? Okay, it's fine, whatever. Let me address only this part. Got an idea, right? Sometimes you'll have this doubt. The first part should I address, or they have just given it for the sake of it? See, of course, whatever is mentioned in the Constitution, every part you have to address. You cannot directly go to Article 21 here. That means in the beginning, what you should talk about then? Overall, they are talking about what? Remember, we keep telling in basics, doctrine of living tree means what? Constitution keeps on improving, not improving is a better word, you can say what? Adapting itself to the changing needs and circumstances. That part you have to address. Write some significant amendments, what has happened. It can be 73rd, 74th, GST, whatever. Then you come, but that should not be like half a page, 1 page. It should be only, let's say for example, 1-2 para. Then the real demand is this, which is what? Illustrate with special reference to, again, which article? Again, which article? Right to life and liberty means 21. But here it is not just right to privacy. Just recall what all cases have you mentioned right to privacy? Right to liberty. Your basics also. Environment, right to privacy, right to, remember, die with dignity, right to marry, same sex, they have not included it, but right against any kind of everything you can add here. Understood? So it's, this one I think broadly, can you note down entire question? Please note down quickly. because at least in the beginning, more or less everything you have to write. So that's why, are you observing? Under the first historical underpinnings topics, the most important subtopic is what? Fundamental rights. Under fundamental rights, the most important aspects where the main question is what? Article 21. Because regularly they ask 4-5 question is on Article 21 or Article 19, which is like your Shreya Singhal case, all those things. Based on this pattern only, we will discuss the probable questions. Like how they play in prelims, they try to play with language and words in mains also. They'll deliberately make a 4-line statement, but the answer question will be in just 3-4 keywords. So here you can link it to your 368 also, because anyhow they are talking about amendment angle. Understood? Yeah, so now how will we structure? First, see here you can't define any. Remember I told you introduction, best way is what? Define the keyword. Now what will you define here? You maybe some people say let's define constitution itself, like constitution is so and so. That is not so good here. So then you can't define, I mean according to, you can use any way because it's a very subjective things. Better get the context because this definition will not work here. So the context is what then? Write it. Constitution is based on the doctrine of living tree. Or Indian constitution also you can write. Indian constitution is based on the doctrine of living tree. So that's the keyword. So whenever you're writing, from now itself make a practice that any keyword that you get, keep on underlining those keywords, because don't be in an assumption that I will write the entire paper, I'll come back and I'll write that all will work in 10th and PO, it will not work here. The moment you write keyword, you just have to keep underlining and keep going ahead. And so because some students have that assumption also. The last 10 minutes I'll underline the key. How will you do it? You can't even write, in last 10 minutes you will be writing 19th or 20th question. Coming back, underlining, those are all not possible. Constitution is based on the doctrine of living tree. Just one line explain what does it mean. Constitution, or it has to continuously adapt. It has to continuously adapt to the changing needs and circumstances. It has to continuously adapt to the changing needs and circumstances. Fine, that's one. Then that structure also keep following. Next para, next below that what you have to write? As said by Ambedkar, Indian Constitution is an organic living document. As said by Ambedkar, Indian Constitution is an organic living document. It is an organic living document for an evolving country like India. Organic living document for an evolving country like India. For an evolving country like India. Reverse the same statement, what you can also write there. It is not a frozen static document. Just playing with the words, that's it, because words matter a lot, keywords. It is not a frozen static document. It is not a frozen static document. And another point, always keep this in mind. Whenever you're writing answers, it can be GS or any optional for that matter, whatever keywords they have used in the question, deliberately make sure that you repeat the keywords of the question. Because that means what are you telling to the evaluator? See, whatever you have asked, I am writing in and around that. That keywords you have to repeat, like what? Constitution, living document, dynamism, progressive society, right to life, that keyword should repeat. And whenever repeated, smartly what you have to do? Underline that keyword. That means evaluator feels, okay, you are writing in and around that. Because always understand, evaluator will not check word by word. Practically, it doesn't work like that. As I keep telling in base normal case also, don't assume that he is looking for an Adam Smith or Karl Marx. He is not doing that. He has come for paper evaluation. He wants to go home very quickly. So help him to go back to the home as, no, this is reality. Help him to go back to the home as quickly as possible. The more time you keep him there, the less is the marks. In reality, that is how it works. Any evaluator, that is how it works. For a person in 20s, 30s only, whoever evaluates, you go and ask in for them also it works like that. Imagine for a person in 60s, he has already lost all his energy and enthusiasm. Do you think he'll be searching for the best answers? Oh, how creative the answer is. Nobody will do that. It doesn't work like that at all. Understood? Because that assumptions you have to take out if in case you still had that. Clear? Okay, now first write about what are those major amendments then. Till now, how many? 106. Till now, 106 amendments. Till now, 106 amendments have been passed. 106 amendments have been passed. The most important are, and then as a list you write. I mean, you can write anything. I'm just telling the most important ones. For a the most important ones are under that first constitutional amendment. Just write first CA 1951. Arrow. What they introduced? Introduced 31A, 31B. First Amendment 1951 introduced 31 capital A, 31 capital B. Fine. Judicial, yeah, same angle. 31 cap. Next, 7th CA 1956, States Reorganization. 7th CA 1956, States Reorganization. Then 26th CA 1971, abolition of privy purse, because it was not required for a democracy. 26th Amendment 1951, abolition of privy purse. I mean, when I give you here, I'll give a little more detailed. In real time, you can't write so many, automatically it will cut off, don't worry. Then 42nd Amendment, which is what? Mini Constitution. 42nd Amendment, Mini Constitution. 44th, abolition of which one? 44th, right to property, 19 clause 1 subclause F. 44th, abolition of right to property. Then 52nd ADL, 52nd ADL, anti-defection law. 73rd, 74th, I will not tell, you know that. 73rd, 74th, 1992. Then directly 101st, which is what? GST. I mean, important I am telling. 106th, very important, which is what? Women's reservation. 106th, women's reservation. Fine. In this, you don't have to write so many in your real time. Maximum write 3, 4, because you are just talking about the first double inverted, that whatever you mentioned here. Now you have to shift to which one? For the heading, Article 21, right to life and liberty. Now this is your main part. Whatever above you have written, you can cut short in real time. But I've just given you a little more detailed. Article 21, right to life and liberty. Personal liberty. Special reference to the expanding horizons of right to life and personal liberty. Obviously, first expanding horizon came when? Menaka Gandhi case is landmark. Menaka Gandhi case expanded the scope of Article 21. So even in first privacy judgment also we wrote this. Menaka Gandhi case 1978 expanded the scope of 21 by introducing due process of law. By introducing due process of law. Fine. Then linking statement is what? Article 21 is the most expanded article of the Constitution. Article 21 is the most expanded article of the Constitution. Now, why is this? Why has this been continuously expanded? This is because of Supreme Court's role as. This is because of the Supreme Court's role as ultimate interpreter of Constitution. This is because of the Supreme Court's role as ultimate interpreter of Constitution. Supreme Court's role as the ultimate interpreter of Constitution. Fine. Now, write what are judgments, what all have, how well has it expanded. Whatever you wrote first, that itself we can write. Case Puttaswamy case, right to privacy. Case Puttaswamy case, right to privacy. Then common cause found, in other words, which is what? Aruna Shanbag case, right to die with dignity. Aruna Shanbag case, right to die with dignity. Right to die with dignity. Then right, Hadia case, right to marry. Hadia case, right to marry. And then right to clean environment, which is obviously which one? Which whenever you get environment, which one? MC Mehta case, right to clean environment. MC Mehta, right to clean environment. Right to clean environment. Then Bandhuwa Mukti Morcha case, right to health. Bandhuwa, BANDHUA, Mukti Morcha case, right to health. Right to health. Education is there, but anyhow, education is already part of other things. There are still so many, you know that. Right to food is there, right to shelter is there, right to sleep is so many things, right against exploit, right against which one, custodial death is there, custodial torture is there. So n number of things are there, that's fine. Broadly, how it has related to the expanding the horizons of. Now, future angle also, as you gave last question, gave that. In the future, Article 21 may also include, that's a futuristic perspective. In the future, Article 21 may also include, we have written already which one? Right to abortion, right to same-sex marriage, right to abortion, right to same-sex marriage, right against digital surveillance, so many in fact, etc. Remember, right to personality also they have added now. Right against digital surveillance, right to personality. Remember, personality means what? That the celebrity's voice or face or dialogues, all those things, you cannot use it for commercial exploitation. Last year, if you have seen Delhi High Court Anil Kapoor case, so what does Delhi High Court said? If you want to use the actor's mannerism or dialogue, you can't use it just using AI and all those things. You have to go get the permission of that actor if you are using for commercial angle, like advertisements and everything, or movie angle. Or else you are taking away the right to personality of the celebrity. Because in the future all these will increase. That is also will be part of 21. So this is the real scope you have mentioned. Now again what happens? Sir, you have mentioned all these things, but how is it implemented? However, enforcement of the expanded scope of Article 21 is a challenge. However, enforcement of, how do you implement it? Enforcement of the expanded horizons of, just I am using the keyword, enforcement of the expanded horizons of Article 21 is a challenge on the state. Is a challenge on the state. Fine. You just look at it. Even now you told Bandhuva Mukti Morcha case, right to health is part of Article 21. But even today, what is not? It is still not a right. For example, see Article 21A, right to education is there. Where is right to health? That's the first challenge. Even today, as a points you have to keep writing then. Even today, right to health is not an explicit fundamental right. Even today, that itself is a mains question actually. Recall, last year Rajasthan said that they'll make it as a statutory right. Right to health bill they introduced. That we'll discuss under your social justice. Even today, right to health is not an explicit fundamental right, unlike which one? Right to education 21A. Unlike right to education, Article 21A. Right to education, Article 21A. That's the first big challenge. Then, as you wrote in last question, expansion of right to privacy. Expansion of right to privacy will have implications on right to information and security of the state. Expansion of right to privacy will have implications, impact on right to information and security of state. Security of state. Then rights based approach to development, because everything you are making it as a right. Rights based approach to development. Rights based approach to development will have financial or will create financial burden on the state. Imagine how much money they have to spend then. Rights based approach to development will impact or will create financial burden on the state. It will create financial burden on the state. Clear? So these are the challenges that will have on the government. But still ultimately this one what you have to do? You should always and always back it. Then how do you conclude finally broadly then? By expanding the scope of Article 21, by expanding scope of Article 21, by expanding the scope of Article 21, Supreme Court has protected the fundamental rights. Supreme Court has protected the fundamental rights of citizens. In fact, enhanced actually. Supreme Court has protected the fundamental rights of citizens. Right? And that means it has fulfilled what kind of role? It has fulfilled its role as guarantor of FR. It has fulfilled its role as guarantor of fundamental rights. Fulfilled its role as a guarantor of fundamental rights. Fine. If you want to give it futuristic angle, in 21st century, Article 21 will expand further. In 21st century, Article 21 will expand further in the context of artificial intelligence. In the context of artificial intelligence, and what else you can write? Big, what is this? There, whatever other things. Big data is fine, artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies. In the context of AI and other emerging technologies. Right? Yeah, so just go through the answer once, look at the demand of the question, see how have you structured it. Is it addressing all the part? Just look at it. 5 questions on Article 21. Just imagine how important is that. That means the left out question is what? If the same pattern they follow, few probable questions are there. If they want to ask other, probably the writ angle they want to ask, Article 32. Or else they have to go back to Article 14, they have asked already. 19. The left out article most important is what? 19. Freedom of expression. Okay. Now again the question will get repeated, the pattern will get repeated if you look at it. See, these two same pattern, look at exact wordings, you look at it with small changes. Constitutional perspective of gender justice they are telling, means what? With the help of relevant constitutional, two keywords you have to understand here. They are talking about gender justice with, first is what? Constitutional angle. Second is what then? Case law. Case law means what? Supreme Court case. So both the angles you have to give as separate subheadings. Means gender justice based on constitutional provision and two cases. Still what else has to come like that? Lot of overlap will be there with what we have done. Now if you look at the same pattern, look at this question. The most significant achievement of modern law in India is. Constitutionalization of environment problem by Supreme Court. Means what they are telling? How Supreme Court has given greater scope to environment issues. Mostly again related to what? 21 only. But 3 at least you have to write, only one case will not work. You have to go a little more in depth. Then discuss the statement with the help of, again look at it. This is the new pattern they are following in the last 2-3 years. Whatever one question or two question, what they'll do? They'll tell and they'll specifically they'll mention case law. Supreme Court case you have to mention. So if you mention, at least when they are explicitly, if UPSC is saying with relevant case law, one judgment will not work. At least 3, maybe 4 you have to write. Or else what will happen? Whoever writes because deliberately they are mentioning case law. Whoever mentions the 3-4, they will get that 1 mark extra. Sir, what if I have only 1 judgment or 2 judgment? Then what you have to do? Sometimes what will happen if you have observed, you know something Supreme Court said in so and so. Sir, but which case? Case you may not be knowing. But at least to manage what you have to write, make it a separate ones, at least write the overall, what did Supreme Court say? That case at least you have to write. Even if you don't know the exact case name, what was the judgment, at least you should write it. Because at least that will give you, that will somehow balance you. You may get half mark, you may not get 1 extra, but if you don't even mention, 1 mark is gone. Clear? Because gender justice is also, first let's write this at least. Note down. Again look at it related to 21 only. So once you write this itself, so many points you will get there, then and there. Let's finish off FR at least today. Today in the sense in the first session. So today overall we can finish off, I think DPSP, all those things are very easy issues. Quick, you have to write a lot. Remember 4,000 words. Whenever you write, always keep it in mind, 4,000 words in 3 hours. So 4,000 means by 3 means 1,000, 1,300. On an average, 1,300, 1,350 words per hour. So because that is how mentally, like how remember for in prelims, by the end of last 2-3 weeks in your mind, okay, 1 round, 2 round, 1 hour, 1.5 hour, that same kind of calculation you should have for mains also. 4,000 hours, 4,000 words, 1,300 words, that means half an hour how much you have to write, means 5 minutes how much you have to write, that all should be there. Again, it will come back to Article 21 only now. Fine. So rather than repeating all those things, body part, which cases you have to write. You understood the demand of the question, right? What is the question saying? How has Supreme Court included constitutionalization means what here? Not necessarily adding to the constitution explicitly. What is this? It is actually talking about, remember we keep telling in basics, it is talking about the invisible amendments to constitution by Supreme Court. It is not mentioned in the constitution, constitutionalization of environmental issues. But, I mean, each and every word will become difficult because it's a pattern. Other question will write again detail, write the structure, how should be there. Constitutionalization means what? First tell that. Supreme Court has the power to introduce invisible amendments to the Constitution. Supreme Court has the power to introduce invisible amendments to the Constitution. It has the power to introduce invisible amendments to the Constitution by being its ultimate interpreter. As it is the ultimate interpreter. As it is the ultimate interpreter. Understood? Then constitutionalization means, next para, constitutionalization means making a provision as part of the Constitution either implicitly or explicitly. Constitutionalization means making a provision as part of the Constitution either implicitly or explicitly. And whatever Supreme Court does is what? Everything is what? Whatever Supreme Court tries to do is explicit or implicit. Everything is implicit because they can't add anything. It can be either implicitly or explicitly. Now, whatever environmental angle is there, because here for this entire things we are not writing, crux I will tell you. And again, which article you have to come back to? Correct. Supreme Court has introduced environmental perspective to Article 21. Supreme Court has introduced environmental perspective to Article 21 through various judgments. Environmental perspective to Article 21 through various judgments. Fine, write some 3-4. First landmark case is what? MC Mehta case, right to clean environment. MC Mehta case, right to clean environment. In fact, other aspect is also there under MC Mehta case. Under MC Mehta case 2, one is right to clean environment, 2, absolute liability principle instead of limited liability. Absolute liability principle instead of limited liability. So absolute liability means what? Like for example, if any case of this industrial disaster, anything happens, whatever compensation is there, 100% who has to pay? Company has to pay. That is absolute liability principle rather than limited liability principle. Understood? Then 2, Soundar-Rajan case. S-O-U-N-D-E-R. Sundar, but whatever. Soundar-Rajan case. Intergenerational equity principle introduced. Soundar-Rajan case. Intergenerational equity principle introduced. That means actually they are referring to which concept? Sustainable development. intergenerational equity concept introduced, which is related to sustainable development. Related to sustainable development. Fine. Then polluter pays principle. Polluter pays principle. The wording itself says everything. Vellore Citizens Welfare Forum case. Vellore, the place, Vellore, Vellore Medical College, all those things. Vellore Citizens Welfare Forum case. Vellore Citizens Welfare Forum case. Citizens Welfare Forum case. Fine, that is polluter pays principle. Then next one, there is also another one which is precautionary principle. Precautionary principle. Andhra Pradesh Pollution Control Board case. Andhra Pradesh Pollution Control Board case. Fine. See, this is the angle of constitutionalization of, you can still have, remember Diwali crackers also is a point of this only. NGT had, remember NGT, but NGT is not there because deliberately they have mentioned here Supreme Court. So you can't write directly NGT. If you have less points, then as a trick what you have to use? Let's say you have less cases, then what you have to do? Either do you remember at least the judgment, even though you don't, that you manage. No sir, I don't remember the judgment also, I don't remember the case name also. Then do you have at least something in mind where your High Court told something or NGT, National Green Tribunal told something, at least that all, that you manage. Sir, but then they are asking Supreme Court, but it's still fine. You can fill the space, write 2 judgments of Supreme Court, one by some High Court, one by National Green Tribunal, it still manages. Please note down in the margin, that's a main trick, because remember as we keep telling, you cannot play only with content, it's not possible so easy, it's not so easy. So use the managerial tricks. If you don't remember Supreme Court judgment, what do you have to do? Mention the overall, what do you call as this, you don't remember the case name, mention the judgment, write about judgment. You don't know anything, at least then what you can use? Use High Courts, judgment of High Courts or NGT, National Green Tribunal. And this is what? Secondary, don't use it directly first. First you should write about Supreme Court angle. If not, then you can mention about High Court judgments or NGT. Clear? Yeah, so then let's say again another issue. Sir, they have asked it as a 15 marker, sir. Then what should I, automatically what you have to do then? Automatically, before coming directly to environmental angle, what you can do? First tell how Supreme Court has added so many things to Article 21. Not just environment angle, right? Privacy is there, this, that, some 2-3 points you write that. Then you write environment angle. Then what you add as challenge? What is the challenges then? Locust, time, you have told all these things. Will it not impact the development projects now? When you say absolute liability principle, this, that, ease of doing business affects, projects get affected, mining projects get affected. How do you balance development, tribal rights, environment? How do you balance all this? If you want, generate that dimension. This is for you to how to manage things. Clarify below. Same word use, again a trick. Constitutionalization of environmental problems. Environmental justice also you can use. Constitutionalization of environmental problems by Supreme Court. Environment problems by Supreme Court will have implications on other aspects of governance. It will have implications on other aspects of governance. You know, like what? First one, development projects. Development projects obviously related to what? Related to mining, dams, power plants. Development projects related to mining, dams, what do you write? power plants may face huge legal challenges. May face huge legal challenges. May face huge legal challenges. Of course, you have, remember in environment, you must say, study so many of these cases. That's one big challenge. Two, economically, what will happen? Economically, ease of doing business. Economic angle, this is. Economically, ease of doing business. Ease of doing business may face obstacles. Ease of doing business may face obstacles. Then three, balancing environmental, you can say what, protection, conservation, balancing environmental conservation, tribal rights, environmental conservation, tribal rights, and development aspects. And development aspects will be challenge on the states. Will be challenge. Example, which one? Western Ghats protection issue. Example, problems in implementing Madhav Gadgil report on Western Ghats. Later they came up with Kasturi Rangan. Can recall in environment you would have studied. For example, problems in implementing Madhav Gadgil report on Western Ghats. Madhav Gadgil report on Western Ghats. So this is a dimension you automatically generate. Clear? Now sir, how should I write the conclusion? See, you have to write in and around Article 21 and environment. How will you conclude then? Supreme Court has underlined, has underscored, has emphasized, any words you can use. Supreme Court has emphasized the importance of environmental conservation. Supreme Court has emphasized the importance of environmental conservation. Emphasized the importance of environmental conservation by making it as part of, by integrating with Article 21. By integrating it with Article 21. This is more significant in the 21st century. This is more significant in 21st century because of what? In the context of global warming and climate change. It is more significant in 21st century in the context of global warming and climate change. In the context of global warming and climate change. Again, if you want, what you have to do? However, it has to be balanced with, development. It has to be balanced with development. If you want development, employment, tribal, any you can write, it has to be balanced with development. Yeah, see, look at the demand of the question and how you structured it. You can still use some people, what they do? They link it to DPSP. Remember in DPSP you write Article 48A. In fundamental duties also talk, if you want, write in margin. If you have to generate points you can do, it can also be linked with, I'm just giving you tricks how all you can manage. It can be linked with Article 48 capital A DPSP as well as which one? Fundamental duty. Because in duty also if you find, you can write what? It's a duty of the citizens to protect environment, forest, wildlife. So it can be linked with DPSP as well as fundamental duties. Clear? But remember, whenever you write polity answer, you should use polity specific language. Whenever you use governance answer, whenever you write governance answer, you should use governance specific language. Understood? Means what? When you're writing polity answer, constitution, Supreme Court, these words should be more and more continuously repeated. When you're writing governance answer, words like what? Transparency, accountability, citizens charter, those angles are more. When you're writing social justice angle, obviously then what? Welfare state, development, justice, social justice, economic justice, vulnerable sections, poverty, hunger, those words are more. So like that. Here you cannot bring so much of environment perspective then. Means what you can't write? You can't write things like completely what sustainable development, food chain, food web, that all you can't write here. Because that's what? That's when you write GS3 environment question, disaster management. So whatever words you use there, environment protection, those are all when you write GS3 environment answer. That's a trick UPSC again uses. Have you observed? For example, interstate linking, interlinking of rivers. They ask the same question in GS1, they'll ask you in GS3. New in education policy, they have asked in paper 2, GS2, they have asked in paper 4, GS ethics. So when they ask those bounding disaster management, like this one, urban flooding, they ask in GS1. When they ask in GS1, it's a geography question or maybe society related angle. That depends on the demand of the question. When they ask in GS3, it's a disaster management question. Both are different, you can't write the same. If you have seen landslide, 1 year they ask in GS1, geography. You should write the geographical angle. Next year they ask you, or the same year they'll ask the same landslide question in GS3. That means you should write it from disaster management perspective. Understood? So exactly same, but papers vary, automatically language vary, demand of the question vary. Same question, if they'll not ask the same language, they may ask same moral angles of environmental protection. I think in GS3, automatically you should change the approach. Got an idea, right? That is another perspective. I think this one, you tell me what all can you write here, because it's automatically more or less the same pattern. Look at it, pattern is same. What all points can you bring? You please recall and tell me. They are talking about gender justice angle, like how you wrote about environmental justice or environmental protection. This gender justice. Gender means again not necessarily women, you have to include transgender angle also. Now you tell me what points can you include for this? Because subdivide, one is constitutional angle, second one is case angle. Now that will come to case. First tell me constitutional angle. Articles, so and so, everything about women, transgender. 14 itself is what? Equality. 15, prohibition of discrimination based on sex. 16, equality of opportunity in public employment, no discrimination based on sex. Then 21, obviously, gender angle, all those things. Correct. Then, okay, fine. 73rd angle, he is telling reservations for women, so and so. Correct. Then 45, sorry, DPSP, equal pay for equal work. Maternity relief benefit for women. Obviously, against exploitation also, correct. Article 39 clause E, any kind of exploitation, correct. Then yes, okay, fine. Women's reservation angle 106. So these are all what? Constitutional provisions. Because in constitution there is no explicit provision related to whom? Transgenders. Now case laws. Now women related, transgender related, subdivide. What all you can write then? What are the case laws? Major women related justice. Hadia case, right to marry. Shabano case, Shaira Bano case. Shabano case, which is what? What is Shabano case? That the alimony should be extended to Muslim divorced women also. Shaira Bano case is triple talaq declared as unconstitutional. And so then Joseph Shine case, like for example this women angle, all those things, rape angle, rape, the age they increased. If 15 was there, they made it as what? If you can recall in our APC, they had told that what? That it will not be considered as a marital rape if the wife was more than 15 years. They have told make it as 18 everywhere. Then adultery angle is a generalistic angle, you leave that angle. Then transgender is what? Nalsa. Nalsa case told that what? Transgender should be considered as the third gender. It should get the same benefits as socially, educationally backward class. Then obviously Navteej Singh Johar, what? Section 377 decriminalized. Now all of it is again subdivide. Vishaka, correct, Vishaka guidelines, which is what? Protection of women against sexual harassment at workplace. Correct, good. Nirbhaya also broadly, okay. This Lakshmi Agarwal case, especially for what? Protection for the victims of acid attacks. Lakshmi Agarwal. Hadia we told, Hadia like that. Yeah, please at least note, we will not write it as point by point. Content part you write. Border, put it as what? Constitutional provisions related to gender justice. The same content will help you. Constitutional provisions related to gender justice. You guys only told, please write all of them. Constitutional provisions related to gender justice. First, Article 14, equality, right to equality, or whatever you know, all those things. Right to equality. Article 15, prohibition of discrimination based on sex. You should give that gender angle. Prohibition of discrimination based on sex. 15 clause 3, special provisions for women. Article 15 clause 3, special protection, not protection, provisions for women. 15 clause 3, special provisions for women. Then 16, which is in general what? Equality of opportunity in public employment for women. Equality of opportunity for public employment, in public employment for women. Equality of opportunity in public employment for women. Fine. Then 16 clause 4, reservations for women in multiple states. This is jobs we are telling, because Government of India, you don't have women reservation separate. 16 clause 4, women reservation in state government jobs. 16 clause 4, a women reservation in the state government jobs. Fine. Transgender reservation, no, correct, but that is what you call constitutional provision is not there. That expanded. I understood your point. That will link to that, because transgender provision specifically nothing is there in constitution. Then subdivide. So whatever you have written is what? Under constitutional provisions, fundamental rights. Now DPSP 39 clause D, equal pay for equal work. So when you subdivide, you are giving a clarity to where later. Equal pay for equal work. Clause D. Clause E, 39 clause E, protect women against exploitation. 39 clause E, protecting women against exploitation. Then 42, maternity relief for women. Maternity relief for women. Then fundamental duties, denounce practices derogatory to dignity of women. Can you recall that point? Fundamental duties. The moment you write that, Article 51 capital A, mandatorily you should keep writing those things. 51 capital A. Renounce means give up. Practices derogatory to dignity of women. Derogatory to the dignity of women. Then 73rd Amendment, 243D. 73rd Amendment, 1992, 243, capital D. 74th Amendment, 243, capital T. 73rd Amendment, 1992, 243D. 74th Amendment, 243T. And both are what? Obviously, we are writing 73rd, 74th means what? Yes, one third reservation for women. Then 106th, 2023. 106th Amendment 2023. Article 330 and 332. In fact, 330 clause A. Clause A, right? Yeah, clause A. 330 clause A, 332 clause A. Women, you know that, please write. Lok Sabha Assembly reservations. (330) clause A, 332 clause A. In fact, 239 clause A that also is there. That all we'll write later. That is which one? Constitutional provisions related to gender angle. Clear? Now, case laws. Okay, before that what you can do, one line if you want, you can write, there is no explicit provision in the Constitution with respect to which one? Transgenders. There is no explicit provision in the Constitution with respect to transgenders or rights of transgenders. It's a better word. No explicit provision in the Constitution with respect to the rights of transgenders. Now, which angle you have to write now? Case laws related to gender justice. Case laws related to gender justice. Now again subdivide. First is what? Women angle. Second is gender angle. Transgender angle. Case laws related to gender justice. Under that, women rights. Now 2, 3 right. First is what? Vishaka guidelines. Vishaka guidelines. You know that, please write. Protection of women against sexual harassment at workplace. Protection of women against sexual harassment at workplace. Hadia, right to marry. Shabano, Shaira Bano. Hadia case. Shabano case. Right to alimony. Alimony means what? Maintenance after divorce. ALIMONY. Alimony to be provided for the Muslim divorced women. That is Shabano case, 1985. Then Shaira Bano, SHAYARA, triple talaq unconstitutional. Triple talaq unconstitutional. Right? Yeah, see the same question, what they can change? They can make it as a social justice question. But then what at that time what they will ask? They'll ask about the laws. Means women specific laws. Like what? So many, imagine how many laws are there related to women specific. Right, from dowry to child marriage to domestic violence, property succession, this, that will become a social justice question. Right? Okay, so that is then transgender angle. I think you still have so many cases, but okay, mine. Transgender cases, rights of transgenders. First, obviously, NALSA, National Legal Service Authority case, NALSA case, transgender declared as third gender. NALSA case, transgender declared as third gender. And what they also told? They should get the benefits of backward classes, OBC. Transgenders declared as the third gender, they should get the benefits as OBC, like OBC. They should get the benefits like OBC. 1, 2. Obviously, we have already written Navtej Singh Johar case. Navtej Singh Johar, which you know, right to gender identity, section 377, unconstitutional. There is also other angle which was not in favor of one, but you can still write that. Gender identity, part of Article 21, section 377, unconstitutional. Then the last year, same sex, which is they did not upheld the one. If you want, you can write in margin at least. Supriyo case. Supriyo. I think Supriyo Chatterjee full name. Supriyo. Supriyo case. Obviously, what Supreme Court said? Say right to same-sex marriage for transgenders is not a fundamental right. Same-sex marriage for transgenders is not fundamental right. For others, it is fundamental right. Article 21. For transgenders, it is not a fundamental right. Or for homosexuals, it's not a fundamental right. So they did not upheld their rights, but still it is a famous case. Yeah, I think mostly it will be there. Some other cases you may get. That is broadly how they have dealt about gender justice angle. Clear? Yeah. This one I think you will directly look at the question. Very basic, as I keep telling again and again, I am telling every year 2, sometimes 3 questions will be typical direct question they will ask. Remember, you might have mentioned financial emergency question. What are the preamble relate? Okay, preamble is a bit this one. This right to movement and justice, these are all what? Directly from basic. You just have to write that. In 1 year they asked about joint sitting of parliament, article 108, direct. Last year they asked about what? Role of the presiding officer of state legislature, means what? Speaker, assembly, chairperson, council, exact copy paste, no, nothing to introduce. Maybe some examples you may have to use, very basics. That will be minimum 2-3 basic questions. This is one of that. See, there is no explanation part, there is no critical analysis part. Directly they have asked you, right to movement and residence throughout the territory of India is freely available to Indian citizens, but they are not absolute. Comment. So that means they are talking about which articles? 19 clause 1 subclause D, 19 clause 1 subclause E. Then, of course it is only for citizens because foreigners will not get that. Then absolute, it is not absolute. What are the reasonable restrictions? Recall. First is what? General public interest. Second is interest of scheduled tribes. Then for that you have to write the examples and cases. What are the examples? On what? On the basis of rights of scheduled tribes, how do they restrict your movement and residence? Schedule 5, Schedule 6, correct, inner line permit, restricted. Fine. Similarly, general public interest, recall the cases. Movement of prostitutes, movement of people affected by HIV, all those they restrict. Understood? For that, what are the cases? They have told you the cases. Kaushalya versus state of Uttar Pradesh, recall all of those things. And which one? Lucy D'Souza versus state of Goa. Those all cases you need to bring, which is a very, very basic question. For those who have forgotten, who are not part of this OGP classes, please write the answer. Note this down. Overall structure, I'll tell you. You have to write a lot, we have to get adjusted to that. Because there is no need to broadly explain. When it's a new topic, I'll explain. Or this all I can't explain because n number of times you would have already studied for your prelims also. Very easy. This is then you tell me, is it category A, category B, category C question? A, very direct. So all the aspects you have to address, which is what? Understood? Clarify that. First, let's write the basics. Fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are available to both Indians and foreigners. Even some people, what they do, they bring the basics also. Part 3 also they tell. Fundamental rights are available to both citizens as well as foreigners. Except, which one? For foreigners. Yeah, write that. Except 15, 16, 19, 29, 30. Then, if you want the constitution angle, you can write. Actually, you should have mentioned it as first point. FR is mentioned in part 3, article 12 to article 35. FR is mentioned, is part of whatever. Fundamental rights are mentioned in part 3 of the Constitution, Article 12 to 35. Now, Article 19 to 22 talks about right to freedom. Article 19 to 22 talks about right to freedom. Now get to the details. Which article talks about these two then? Under that, Article 19 to 22 talks about right of freedom. 19 clause 1 subclause D and 19 clause 1 subclause E talks about right to movement and residence respectively. 19 clause 1 subclause D and 19 clause 1 subclause E. Subclause E talks about, write those words, right to movement and residence, right to movement and residence respectively. Fine. Now that 19 clause 1 subclause D subheading, it provides the citizens right to move freely throughout the territory of India. 19 clause 1 subclause D, it provides the citizens right to move freely throughout territory of India. Some people, what they do, when they write that word territory of India, first time what they'll do in bracket, states plus UTs plus acquired territories. Obviously, what does territory of India mean? States plus UTs plus acquired territories. That's just playing a game and telling the evaluator, see, I have better clarity. Those are all tricks. You go and look at toppers copy, all those tricks they play. Or else getting to 120 plus is not so easy. Fine. Now, explain that. Why is it not absolute, or why is it necessary? First you tell. This right is necessary. Right to movement is necessary. This right is necessary. This right is necessary for people of the country to interact. This right is necessary for the people of the country to interact, thereby enhance unity and integrity of India. To interact regularly and enhance unity and integrity of India. Now, why is it also necessary? Without this right, interstate migration will become difficult. Imagine without this, how will migrations happen? Without this right, interstate migration will become difficult. Interstate migrations will become difficult. Fine. Again, to substantiate this, what do you write? According to 2011 census, there are more than 45 crore migrants within India. According to 2011 census, there are more than 45 crore migrants in India. See, this is, you are telling that how important is this right. Without that right, how would you have all these funds? Fine. Then, not absolute angle, clarify. However, it is not absolute. However, it is not absolute. Reasonable restrictions are, and then A and B. It is not absolute. Reasonable restrictions include. You know that, please write 2. This is a very basic question, because at the beginning, I am telling the structure for everything. A is what? Obviously, what is the first one? Yes, interest of general interest of public. Interest of the general public. B, interest of ST. Interest of the general public, and B, interest of ST, scheduled tribe. Fine. Explain how is it, how practically how it happens. For instance, provisions of Schedule 5 or 5th schedule, 6th schedule and ILP. Provisions of 5th, 6th schedule and ILP. Provisions of 5th schedule, 6th schedule and ILP restricts movement of people in tribal areas. Fifth schedule, sixth schedule and ILP, inner line permit, restricts movement of people in tribal areas. Movement of people in the tribal areas. Then, cases you write below that. Kaushalya was the state of Uttar Pradesh. Kaushalya versus state of UP. Kaushalya versus state of Uttar Pradesh. What is restricted? Free movement of people practicing prostitution can be restricted on public interest. Free movement of people practicing prostitution restricted on public interest. Fine, then if you want other case, Lucy D'Souza versus state of Goa. This one has already been taken out, but the case was there. Lucy D'Souza was the state of Goa. Bombay High Court said that movement of people affected by HIV movement of the people affected by HIV can be restricted. Again clarify, 19 clause 1 subclause D only deals movement within India. Remember, because external movement right to abroad is which have been dealt with 21. 19 clause 1 subclause D only deals with the internal movement. 21 deals with external movement. Now you are writing, you have written only about clause 1 subclause D. Same structure you follow 19 clause 1 subclause E. Right? More or less same only, just copy the points. It provides right to risk, it provides the citizens right to reside and settle, temporary stay, permanent stay, provides the citizens right to reside and settle in the entire territory of India. Fine. Same reasonable restriction, same restrictions also same. Schedule 5, Schedule 6, ILP. So there is no current affairs angle largely here. COVID, correct. Yeah, that COVID angle is there, correct. COVID angle itself is the restriction. Actually, that example itself you can bring. That movement one, even above where what you can write the example, like I think we should have written that point above, you can write that. In the margins, what you can write? Even during COVID, the provisions of Epidemic Diseases Act, just to clarify in the margins, even during COVID, provisions of Epidemic Diseases Act, what are there? 1885, I think, 6. Even 1897, correct. Even during COVID, provisions of Epidemic Diseases Act 1897 and Disaster Management Act 2005 restricted movement. Provisions of Epidemic Diseases Act and Disaster Management Act restricted right to movement, not residence, movement. Correct, that's a COVID angle is there. Fine. Yeah, now reasonable restriction for residence is done. Then provision restrict same, 5th schedule, 6th schedule, ILP itself, same ones will be there. Now broader, see for this kind of answers, how to conclude? Again, actually it's a basic question, but conclusion sometimes becomes challenging. So let's sum up again. Sum up. Right to job. Right to. Right to job means you are telling Article 16, Clause 3. So residence cannot be, that is not related to this because this is only related to movement and residence. Job employment angle is all dealt under, that to government job angle is dealt under 16. So 16, that is, this is 19, not linked. Yeah. Broadly sum up, both the rights, or right to movement and residence you can use, both the rights are very important. Both the rights are very important. Both the rights are very important in a diverse country like India. Both the rights are very important in a diverse country like India. In a diverse country like India, to enhance its unity and integrity. To enhance its unity and integrity. Enhance its unity and integrity. However, considering the socio-cultural aspects, specifically related to tribes, considering the socio-cultural aspects specifically related to scheduled tribes, constitution makers have cautionably, have deliberately, specifically related to the scheduled tribes, constitution makers have deliberately introduced, deliberately added reasonable restrictions to it. Constitution makers have deliberately added or cautiously added reasonable restrictions to it. Fine? Yeah, I think broadly that's fine. So that is mostly, you still have few. See, look at this one angle is there. 19 clause 1 subclause A, freedom of speech and expression question is there, which is related to hate speech and all. These two are freedom of speech. Whatever we have discussed till now, maybe 4 or 5 questions largely was related to what? 21, 19, 19, 19. So that itself shows what? Fundamental rights is the most important under basic questions. Under that, 19, 21 has been very important till now. The other ones that we'll discuss under your probable question, because see this one also again is 21 only. This is DPSP, you leave it. So that will come back to the evening session, which is what? 5:30 to 8:30. It will be in, I think, OGP 1. I think they have mentioned it late already. Okay, it will be in OGP 1, that normal main building.